Welcome to the Salty Bulldog, the podcast that is still recovering from witnessing a successful trade period for a change. My name is Matthew Donald, and I have Nick Galea in the studio, as he always is, except for that one time when you weren't. Welcome, Nicholas.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
We have 2 trade targets in. Now, admittedly, this is a week after, of course, the trade period finished, but were you getting a bit terrified towards the back end of the trade?
I think when you've got deals and they don't get done, and you know you're starting to run out of time a little bit, you'll worry. But we'll talk about those in just a minute because we need to introduce someone else.
Yes, we do.
In the studio, and he hasn't been here for a few weeks, so it'll be good to have him back.
Yes, he broke a 14-streak record or something like that. Or 14-week run or whatever it is.
He was on one hell of a run, and then he decided to let commitments get in the way. But he's back now. Bradley Sultana, welcome.
Hello, it's good to be back. I haven't been in the studio for a month, and it feels good to be back.
Oh, it's good to have you back.
Yes, start to the new season.
We need a third voice, I think, sometimes in the studio. I reckon if people just listen to Nick and I for an hour, they'd get bored pretty quick.
I get bored listening to you. No.
Yeah, that makes 2 of us, Nicholas.
Hey.
How have you been, Bradley?
Good.
Since the month?
Work's been busy. Obviously, since the last time I was on the show, I was on via phone because we were getting ready to go to the Best and Fairest that night. But
that was a
fine
night.
It's good to be back again.
Yeah, it was. That was the last time you were on the Best and Fairest night. That's a while ago now.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago.
Yes, and you were struggling to figure out how to tie a tie that night too.
Oh, jeez. Don't go there again. Don't go there again.
You know, the YouTube video showed you how to do it. You were 95% of the way there, and you said, screw this.
Yeah, it was too hot that night to wear a tie anyway.
You still wore it.
Yeah, no, you did wear the tie pretty well, I've got to be honest. And I want to thank you as well. A couple of weeks ago, we had the Salty Bulldog Player of the Year Awards, and you couldn't make it, but you still sent through your votes to us.
Yeah.
Good of you.
Yeah, that was good.
Commitment to the cause.
It was a good poll. It's good to see the Bond picked up the W, or just the win.
We
best
don't really have a medal or a trophy to give to him. Couldn't hold that one down in time.
I think we should have spoken to McRae that night and said we would try to rig it for you, but it just didn't work. So sorry to you, Jackson.
No, the 3 Bontempelli, Dunkley, McRae all did pretty well.
Yes,
I loved when you gave your votes for Rourke Smith and you said, "No, I'm not kidding," there as well.
Oh, to be honest, I wasn't expecting you guys to give me the votes, but I guess you guys did.
He was very good that night against Port.
I think that was his best game. He deserved that. But anyway, we're talking too far into the past. We need to go back a week because Nick and I were both sitting in this studio this time last week with a bunch of trades coming through because of a restriction that had been put on. The deals couldn't be completed until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Or at least unveiled.
So we had a flutter of deals going through.
And not one of them were ours.
All involving teams that weren't the Bulldogs. We had Jack Stephen, that deal went through. I think the Bradley Hill deal went through, and a couple of others also. Lewis Taylor, one of our favourites here on the Salty Bulldog, also got a move.
Jason's very much has mentioned to me that he has now said Squizzy can go to hell because he's now at Sydney, not at the Brisbane Lions. So he's absolutely frustrated.
Okay. Yep. So no, Jason not thrilled with that one, no? No?
It's just
I'm just not in my head. Not at all. He is not happy.
Is he more or less annoyed about this than when he is every time we mention Aaron Norton?
He's devastated to the core, trust me.
Really?
He's furious.
Well, imagine if an actual decent player left Brisbane and went to Sydney.
Like Dane Beams, he was still pissed off about that too.
I was actually thinking Bradshaw.
Ah, yes. Bradshaw.
Daniel Bradshaw.
He was a good footballer.
He wasn't too bad. Anyway, we're going even further back.
We're back in the 2010s era, so at the moment.
So heading into the last 90 minutes, I think it was, there's still 2 trades hadn't been done, and the Bruce one was being held up by Zach Jones. I believe it was a bit of a merry-go-round, which you always tend to get. There was the Zach Jones deal, which was being held up by the Tom Papley deal, which was being held up by the Joe Danaher deal, and that was what was and all of that was.
So once again,
the Bruce deal.
It is always and will forever be Adrian Dodoro's fault.
Yeah,
that's always the case. It's always the case.
So it's pick 5 and 9. They're not even good enough for Danaher. Come on, that's just ridiculous.
We'll go back on it just quick. We'll just touch on the Danaher deal, though.
Yeah, okay.
I think for both parties that it was the best case. Swans, rightly so, didn't pay up to their demands, the Bombers' demands, and the Bombers didn't get their demands appeased. So for both parties, as well as Danaher, he gets, hopefully for his sake, a full year of football where he gets to now set his price on his next contract. The Swans will get to see whether he's worthwhile to continue chasing.
Yeah.
and the Bombers will then potentially, get a fair bounty deservedly.
Well,
not just off an injured footballer.
I think this non-trade is actually a win-win for both clubs because, as you say, Sydney get another 12 months to have a look, see if it's something that they feel like they can fix.
He gets 12 months to see whether his body's right.
He gets 12 months to see whether he can do it. Essendon get to keep a quality player as well.
The Medicos get to be kept busy, so everyone wins.
Everybody wins. And then what the benefit is for Sydney is that they'll be able to get him for free next year if they go again, coming out of contract.
But they have to go crazy on the salary.
Yeah, they'll have to offer him a decent salary, but in turn that will mean Essendon get decent compensation.
Unfortunately, for us, unfortunately, but he's a good footballer still, Dan.
No, when he's fit and at his best, he's a 60 goal a season centre half forward, and they're always pushing top 5 in the competition.
Yeah, if it was 2017 Dan, you'd have no issues trading 5 and 9 for him, to be honest.
No.
But that's yet to be established on what happens next year.
Anyway, all of that deal, the Papley deal, the Zach Jones deal, all holding up the Josh Bruce deal. But ironically enough, Bruce deal was the first of all that lot to go through in the end. And I've got the details up for that one here. We were talking pick 32 at the time. That was the pick for the majority of the trade period. I think the Saints were wanting a little bit more to appease Sydney with it. I think Sydney were wanting pick 28 for Zach Jones. We ended up giving pick 51 for that one. So pick 32 and 51 went to St Kilda, and they gave us Josh Bruce in return. And we signed him up to a 4-year deal, and that was with about 90 minutes to go. What were you doing when were you watching? You said you were watching Trade Radio before we went to air.
Yeah, well,
watching Trade Radio.
Yeah, you can watch it.
They broadcast it for the last few hours, didn't they?
It does. It sounds a bit weird, but yeah, you could watch Trade Radio.
Well, I was listening to it in the last 2 days in particular, and they had St Kilda's list manager on. I can't remember what his name was again.
James Gallagher.
That's the one. And he was saying the day before the trade went down, there's no way we're going to give up Bruce for 32.
And I was saying, yes, you will.
But Terry Wallace and Kane Corns made, good point. Especially when they just got Ryder, they've got Marshall, all them. They're really tall and all that. It's like Bruce doesn't fit into that forward line anymore, and he's definitely going. So, yeah.
Yes, and I kept checking also, not just for those inclusions at the Saints there, but the list spots that were left, and they were closing up very fast. So, you also have to look at that particular element of the game, and so unless they were going to delist him, which they weren't going to clearly do that, delist him and then pick him up as a rookie, that was never going to happen. Yeah. So he had to get traded.
The one thing that I think I expressed concern about with you in particular, Nick, was Ben King committing to the Suns, because I think the Saints had the idea that it was going to be a case of Bruce out, King in, and there was just going to be a year where you wouldn't have either of them. But I think that was their plan in the end.
They were happy to go for a year
without either of them.
Without either.
Yeah.
But I mentioned to you the news that he was going to sign an extension last Sunday, and then later that Monday morning, he
I've got the messages of that for any doubting Thomases out there.
Sources.
Nick is on the ball. He even told me that the Josh Bruce deal would get done on Tuesday, and Tuesday came and went, and the Josh Bruce deal didn't get done.
I did. That's true. That's due to the Zach Jones deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw you tweet on that the other day.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, I
have to look that up. Actually,
I was furious that one didn't go through.
I was furious. I got misled.
But Bruce, that was, and with Ben King committing to the Suns, I was a bit concerned that St Kilda were then going to be a bit more reluctant to let Bruce go, because their target was suddenly not there. They needed a plan B. They had Josh Bruce. May as well try and keep a hold of him for that extra year. But they relented.
And then lose him for much less.
But they relented.
Not going to happen.
They got. They actually did pretty well. I think you were questioning whether they did as well as what some people have suggested, Nick, with the players St Kilda have brought in. But they've brought in some quality players still. Jones, Brett Hill, Dougal Howard, who I know in particular you rate Howard.
As a defender. Not as a forward, for crying out loud, not as a forward, but as a defender, he is very exceptional there.
And they brought in Paddy Ryder as well, who'll give some of their tools a bit of a chop out, in particular Rowan Marshall and the ruck there as well. And there was another name, I think, they brought in.
Dan Butler.
Butler.
The Butler did it, yes.
Yeah, from Richmond. So they've done all right. I don't know whether they'll be finals worthy now. They did all right. They brought in. It's always hard to bring in 5 players in a trade period, but
they set themselves up to get 5, and they got all 5. So on that basis,
it's a tick.
That's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Then you just got to look in the other parts of the trade and see how it works out, and the caliber of the players, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, speaking of other trades, after that Bruce deal, there was still one more that needed to go through, and I think this one actually went down to the last half an hour. This may well have been, from memory, one of the last trades done. I don't think it was the last trade done.
Surely there was a pointless pick swap. Surely.
Future third round swaps some point, with 30 seconds to go. And this was the Alex Keith one, and this was the one that I was saying was least likely to get done of the two. I think the Bruce one was always going to get done. It was just going to take some time. But Adelaide were proving much more resistant.
Yes, they were very happy to lose a player for free. And I was saying that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I told you, like, having 5 picks under 50 or 3. You do the math.
Yeah. So they relented. I think pick 45 was what we were willing to offer. Adelaide wanted pick 13. They were never going to get pick 13. And then Keith's manager came out and said that he wouldn't go back to Adelaide and he'd go straight into the pre-season draft. And then there was all this news about potentially Gold Coast going after him, but with the earlier pick in the pre-season draft, and there were a lot of possibilities, but they all got thrown out the window once the deal got secured. Alex Keith and a future third-round draft selection coming to the Bulldogs, pick 45, and a next year's second-round draft selection going the other way. So it's effectively Alex Keith for a second-rounder. I think when I told Nick that Sam Power was in the trade room with Justin Reid, the list manager for the Crows, he was saying to me, "Don't cave in, don't cave in." Well, words to that effect at least. I think he was worried that they were going to give up a little bit more than what they were willing to. I think in the end they did. I don't think they wanted to give up a future second rounder, but they didn't give up too much more than what they wanted to.
No, if both sides project, to where we think they'll head, and some of that involves going one into a ladder and the other one going hopefully up the other side.
Yep.
It's only going to be probably, touch wood, a difference of anywhere between 4 to 6 draft range selections, which is probably only about 100, 150 draft points. So it's not even worth that much in that regard. So, just think of it as somewhere around 30, 33 for example, and 39. That's not that bad. It's a 6-pick downgrade into the second round, and that'll do it.
Oh, so that was I think
that's of course it's all predictions there, but that's what we're hoping for anyways. Hopefully 36.
Actually, there were a few. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 6 more trades after the Keith one.
Any pointless pick swaps?
I think they all involved players.
Well, that's not good enough.
The majority of them are going to the Saints as well.
Yeah, so Cutler, Brisbane to Essendon, Zach Jones, Josh Jenkins, Adelaide to Geelong, Aiden Bonner, Giants to North, James Aish, Collingwood Fremantle, and the Dan Butler deal. So there were 2 players that moved to St Kilda. A bunch of pick swaps involved in those deals as well, but all involving players from there. Sam Power. Now, I think one of us told him to go home, have a rest. He's been superb since he's rocked up, and he's delivered again.
We are very happy to have him.
Yep.
And as I've mentioned to you last week, or to you last week, it was the hour of power. So very, very pleased about that. And no, you're right. He's done a good job. He's done a top job past year and a half with us.
Oh yeah, he has for sure.
Whether it's retaining the blokes that he needs to, a lot of our footballers that we want to keep have all committed to the club. Well and truly a year before they come out of contract, which is fantastic. And no hassles at all whatsoever.
No,
we've got the targets we've wanted, and it's not breaking the bank at all. We've probably still got not as much left, but we've still got probably enough to be able to front load maybe 3 or 4 contracts on top of the remaining salary cap space.
Yep.
And that's just that'll be quite useful in the coming years when you've got to bring in other talents. I don't think we need to bring in much more else even for next year and stuff now, because people say, why don't you bring in A graders? Well, we've got a couple as it is.
Yeah.
So you don't need to bring someone
The
in.
midfield is just about stacked with them. The bookends are now filled with them. Especially, likes of Norton, and now you've got Keith, who was on pathway to being an All-Australian during the season until he got injured. It certainly was in the discussion. He didn't make the final squad.
No,
40.
lack of games would have hurt. I think he played 18 games, but it's still a fair chunk of games. But his last
he missed
his last
a
3 or
month,
4
Yeah,
of those 18 were definitely hindered. So his first dozen and a bit games were well and truly up there. I'm sure we've got some stats in him actually there, but I think in terms of intercepts possessions, this is average intercept possessions, I think he was up there in the top 6 of the comp, around 8.5. And who else was in that in those numbers? Lewis Young. He only played 3 games admittedly, but he was up there in terms of average intercept possessions. He was up there with some fine company, and Haynes and McGovern too. So that's a rather nice piece of armour to hold yourself onto. So very good to have him.
Well, I'm just getting Keith's numbers up there. I think he was rated elite in terms of intercept possessions.
I believe so. I think it was like 6.2 or something like that. 16.2, I think, possessions or something like that. He was averaging a game. I can't remember. I was looking at the stats the other day.
16.3, elite for a key defender. 8.3 intercept possessions.
That's crazy.
Which is
That's
also
crazy
elite.
good.
Yes, and Young was 8.5.
Intercept marks 2.7, which is above average. And that fits in very nicely with a couple of other players that we've got running around in the back line at the moment, including Easton Wood and Hayden Crozier as well. So we've got a few high flyers there now that aren't afraid to come off their mat.
These are stats courtesy of, what is it, Stats Pro or something?
Stats Pro on the AFL website, and elite ruckman as well. More than half of his hitouts to advantage.
Yep, joining, top tier fellas like McRae, yes, in the ruck.
Bailey Williams.
I can't believe that, seriously.
It's got to be a minimum, surely.
I can't believe they count 1 or 2 hitouts, and if they're half of them going to advantage, that classifies you as elite.
Now, Nick, tell me about this one. Defensive one-on-ones. He lost 22.4% of them. So these are genuine one-on-one marking contests where it's Keith against an opponent. He lost 22.4%, so he lost about a fifth.
Just over a fifth.
Just over a fifth of his one-on-one contests all year. He had 58 of them, so he lost 13.
We don't know who these exact opponents are, unfortunately.
No. Now, it doesn't have them. It doesn't rank them in terms of a champion data category. There are those numbers elite. Are they elite numbers?
They'd be in the top 6 or 7, definitely. I'm not sure how many, of course, defenders would have been rated by this, but I remember seeing a graph probably about 3 months back, and it had 2 Bulldog players on that list. Sorry, 3 Bulldog players on that list. This is obviously before Keith. It had Trengove at the top echelon, up there with, I think it was Harris Andrews, and we had Zane Cordy and Easton Wood at the bottom end of the echelon, around the 37 or 45% range. So, but then again, that depends, of course, on the number of opponents and the range of opponents you come up against. But it's nice to actually have a key defender other than Trengove that can hold his own one-on-one.
Just a comparison, Trengove lost 17.3%.
Thank you. Where'd you pull that? Oh, you just looked it up on his things, yes.
No, there was a graph. I did the numbers throughout the season.
No, because there was a graph that had them there, and I just can't remember where I've seen it, but it was actually fantastic because it had, the rest of the defenders that were rated by that statistic there too. So, 22%. What's he, 198 centimetres?
Yeah, I think he's about 197. Yeah.
That'll do. That'll do very nicely for us. The question is it fullback or centre halfback?
And Lewis Young as well, 17.4% he lost.
That's a surprise.
He lost 4 out of 23 one-on-one contests.
And that's up against some good footballers too, That's the likes of Finlayson and Himmelberg, and then Cameron, of course, too, and then Fogarty and Taylor Walker at times.
He's 96k is Lewis Young, but he still looks a bit of a lightweight. But Keith is 93 and he doesn't. It's interesting that, isn't it?
Yes, the muscle mass with the shoulders and all these things, number of pre-seasons. Strength and conditioning is going to have to be a big thing, of course, and it's starting to really, take a hold now in the AFL landscape and across other codes too. So we'll see what we can do with Young, and it'd be nice to see him go to work with Keith. We might see those two paired up a lot next year.
We might. So rate the trade period out of 10 for the Dogs, Nick.
For what we wanted, we got exactly who we wanted. Probably paid a fair price in almost both of them, so I'd say 9.
Oh, I'll probably go 9.5.
Yeah.
Same reason why, as Nick said, we probably paid just maybe a little bit too much for Heath.
In terms of
but
that
otherwise,
future
yeah.
second, but
Yeah.
it could balance out quite
Yeah.
nicely. So
Yeah.
I was always of the opinion that we want to stay away from next year's draft as much as possible. We dipped into a little bit. We got a third rounder back, but as Nick
which
says,
is projected to be potentially rather low.
we might not lose too much in the long run. We kept pick 13. We got Keith. We got Bruce. It's got to be 9.5, and that second round is the only thing keeping it from being a 10. On those two, I want to talk about this now because we've got them. No more hypotheticals. How does it all work next year? Look at the forward line stocks. It's Bruce, Norton, Shackey, Dale, Dixon. You got McLean down there. You've got Gowers who'll have a point to prove. You probably won't have Ryan Gardner because he'll spend next year in the back line from what we've been told, quite reliably so.
Yes, by the man himself.
by the man himself.
You're missing one other name.
Ben Cavara, Riley West,
Come on.
a couple of others.
Lloyd.
Well, that's one of them, but that's not the name.
Leading goal
That's
scorer.
one of them.
Oh, I've definitely said, I reckon, just about everybody. Yes.
There
Nick's
you go.
pointed to his wrist. Fergus Green.
Yes, Fergie time.
Alrighty. So, we've got a plethora of attacking options. Now, you'll probably look at some of them and go,
Who the hell are
who
they?
the hell are they? They aren't that good. We could argue, I'd certainly argue that if Fergus Green was fit, he would have, he should
We were hoping to see
he
him
should have
play this
started
year.
the season at AFL level, just in my opinion.
Unfortunately, his year was done by round 5?
Well, he had the Achilles problem, and then he had shoulder problems. So yeah, it was a bit of a write-off for him, unfortunately. When he came into the side in 2018, he had more shots on goal in that time than any other Bulldog. He just kept finding the little posts as opposed to the big sticks. But he showed plenty of
And was one of I think was our leading target too.
leading target. Shackey's come a long way and will no doubt be assisted by the likes of Bruce being in the forward line. Norton came in leaps and bounds. Lloyd won the goal kicking. Gowers did win the goal kicking in 2018 in his first season. He's probably still got a bit to work on though with that one. Bailey Dale's come a long way. Did well to secure himself that new contract, but we'll have to see when the pressure's off how he performs with that one.
That's anyone.
That's anyone.
That's anyone. The pressure. That's still though. That's strange how you say that though, because he's out of contract trying to keep his career alive.
Well, I mean,
So the pressure was well and truly on there, mate.
yeah. Well, I mean, I reckon some people thrive under pressure, but when the pressure's off, they don't tend to do so well. I reckon it doesn't,
Yeah, no, I
doesn't
know what
sound like
you
it
mean.
makes sense, but I think it is a thing.
Yes, we call it the Stephen Motlop syndrome. But we'll see what it is.
Goes to the port, and then what happened from there? Who knows?
Whack!
Yes.
He's practicing his cover drives. Nick,
it's not too many of those so far this year yet,
bang,
but
bang. Riley West came in, had I think he finished second in the JJ Listen, which is the
and he finished something along the lines of 16th in our
16th
best and
best
fairest.
and
So I don't know how the hell that happens, but
made his debut in the AFL, played in his first final as well. I think you've got to count his career as a success. Ben Cavara didn't play a game, but my goodness, I reckon he got close on a couple
from what
of
you've
occasions.
heard, and I've wanted to see him in there, but from what you've heard, that he'll be given opportunities definitely.
Yeah, next
year
year.
and rather early too.
And then there's Tory Dixon as well. Now, we don't know his future. I reckon it's looking increasingly
We can
likely that
suspect
he
it.
will stay,
Yeah.
but he will fall down the pecking order.
Yeah. That's reported also, probably back on Sunday night by Sam Landsberger too.
Yeah.
Should be a 1-year deal, and we'll trust the words of Landsberg because seeing as could we trust him just as much now, seeing as his father won't be at the club next year?
Yeah, I reckon you can.
Yep.
I reckon you can. I reckon he will have developed more than one contact.
I think so. Yes.
in about 30 years. But, Nick, with all those numbers and all those names, they can't all fit into the same forward line. Now, you're just going to grab your phone now. How does next year's forward lineup look? I reckon you can lock in a couple of players. I reckon you can lock in Aaron Norton. Apart from the set shot...
That's a very, bold guess right there. I'm sure you're really hanging your hat on that.
I do think, apart from the set shot goal kicking, which can be inconsistent, I do think apart from that, he is perfect for what we need. in terms of, and Nick just points, we said in terms of the aggression, in terms of the competitive nature, in terms of the marking, the ability to bring the ball to ground, just the way
the endurance,
just
the repeat efforts,
yeah,
the harassing.
yeah. No, I agree in terms of what
It complements what we need.
yeah, what a modern day full forward should be. I think Norton ticks just about every box.
That is despite playing centre half forward, so that's all
well,
right.
well, centre half forward, but he was the full forward this year for us, and I think he did a very good job. But I do think he's better as a centre half forward. I reckon he's in. Lloyd is your leading goal kicker. I reckon he's in.
Just squeezes in.
Just finds a spot. Reckon Bailey Dale will probably, if he's fit, will start the season in that forward line as well.
Yes, we've tended to do that, even though obviously it took a little bit of time this year to get into the side. But yes, we've always, for the better part of 3 years, when he has been fit, he has played.
Yeah.
So as much as you've thought, but yeah, when he has been fit, he has been in the side.
Well, I know they rate him, but I just think there have been times in the past few years where I've struggled to see why. I know what he's capable of, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, he's not a good footballer.
A bloke that can actually kick a set shot for once. That's what we'll take.
Yeah, I mean, with 2 bags of 5, was there a bag of 4 in there as well?
Should have been a bag of 5.
Should have been a bag of 5.
There were 2 bags of 5 or 3. It might as well have been
2.
Yeah, 2, but it might as
then
well
the
have
one
been.
against the Crows, I think it was 4, wasn't it?
And he got Brownlow votes too that day.
No, so he got 5 against Saints, he got 5 against the Crows, and he got
4 against the
against
Dockers.
Freo.
Yeah.
And he got singles, or a couple. He got 2 against the Giants in round 22 and probably 2 against the Bombers.
3 against the
3
Bombers.
against the Bombers,
Yeah,
was
I
it?
watched that game the other night. There were 3. It's difficult to keep track of all the goals.
There were a
in
lot.
that match. Yep. His final was disappointing though, and I was
For a lot of them.
Yeah, for a lot of them. But his final was disappointing. But he will have a point to prove. But I know what he's capable of. I think there's an issue with consistency.
Coleman medal.
Coleman medal. Is he going to be the next Jacob Townsend?
Yes.
Okay, so he's going to get to listen 2 years. Really
Oh,
After winning another Premier, yeah, that'll take it though.
All right, so
That's right on par when his contract ends, so that's all right.
All right, so I reckon he's in. You're probably going to start Bruce. I mean, they've gone and targeted him for a reason. You expect him to get games,
Yes, definitely get a game for Footscray, I think.
but you expect Shaki will probably play as well.
Yes, they do. They've reiterated the point, and even Empower's done it too, that we will be looking to have the 3-pronged attack. And the last time we had a triple threat like that would have been
Liam Jones,
Jordan Ruffhead, sorry, that is.
Ace Cordy.
Yep, in 2012.
And that worked out well, didn't it, Brad?
It was fantastic.
One premiership
Yep.
between the three of them.
And then the support cast too, Jared Grant.
Jared, oh boy. All right, so how's this going to work then? Because there's 5.
That forward line is terrifying, wasn't it?
Norton,
In so many wrong ways.
yeah, Norton, Lloyd, Dale, Bruce, Shaki. There's 5. There's room for one more. We probably said a bunch of other names. I mean, Gowers.
It needs to be a small forward.
Dixon.
Has to be a small forward.
Okay, so do you rule Green out then? I wouldn't class him as he's not a tall forward, but he plays
No, he's the
as a tall forward.
he's the Lloyd position,
Okay.
or the Dale. One of them two, obviously, he'll have
Right,
to overtake.
so there's
And he can do it.
So there's Green, there's Gowers, there's Dixon, Kavara, Riley, West. There's 5 off the top of my head. You could argue potentially Toby McLean might be considered a candidate for that role. He's kicked he can kick a bag from time to time. Who would you two, if you had to pick between one of those 5 to play as that 6th forward, who are you two going for?
If we're disappointed, you have not thrown in 2 other names that can, or at least have the capacity to do that role, despite it not being their best attributes.
Wallace and Liberatore?
I was going to say yes, Wallace. But Libby would actually be an interesting, option. I was saying Bailey Smith because he has
Okay.
got that.
No,
aggression about him.
I like Bailey Smith more in the midfield.
I do too, but he has that sort of that
I reckon-
campaigner that we need there too.
I reckon Liberatore can play the role that Clay Smith vacated.
Without the marking prowess, but probably better shots at goal too. I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, Liv has always been a decent kick for goal. He's got a neat little unorthodox kicking style, but it's a neat one. Decent set shot. Definitely provides a lot of aggression there with his tackling and his harassment. So I reckon he wouldn't be a bad shout.
And niggling.
And with the midfield group expanding the way it is and putting the likes of Bailey Smith in there as well, it pushes Libber and Wallace out a little bit. But there's still room for them in the best 22. I reckon if Liberatore was fit, you pick him in that final.
100%.
So, even though he's not one of our best midfielders, you still got to pick him. The question is is he that sixth forward? I'm guessing no for you because
No, I'm still trying to work it out for McLean whether I think he's still got a genuine place in the side. That's my predicament.
Now you asked that question. If a decent offer came in for Toby McLean during the trade period, you would consider it.
And that's not that I don't want to lose him, but sometimes you have to because there's your fifth or sixth, sometimes potentially even seventh midfielder, and he's what? Is he an actual proper forward? He's a high half forward, but he plays much higher up the ground, and we've got a fair too many of those. He's arguably the better one of them, but how do you get currency? You have to lose something decent.
Yeah, I do think next year is an important year for Toby McLean.
Still has, of course, another 3 years. It doesn't mean anything anymore, but he still has another 3 years, at least on paper, to run, 2022. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about it. What do you reckon, Brad, in terms of a sixth forward?
Oh, to be honest, I'll probably have to go with a little bit of experience first. I'm probably going to have to go with Tory Dixon to start off the year.
Okay.
And then maybe if Riley West keeps on improving in the VFL during the season, I might have him in towards the back end of the season like they did this year.
Yeah.
And the club does see, at the moment anyways, West as a small forward.
Yeah. He's got more skills than his father. I mean, Scott was a terrific player in the midfield, but I think Riley has a bit more flair that his father didn't necessarily have.
That's a very good word, flair. Very nice word.
I think some players do have it, and they're fantastic players when they do. Well, you say Bonapelli's got flair, but Dunkley doesn't. That's what I would say. Yeah, no.
Yeah, my head is nodding the other way. It's up and down this time, so yes, I agree with that sentiment.
All right, so you reckon if you're picking that sixth forward, you'd go with it. I like how you say experience as well, because most of those other players are quite young.
Yeah.
Norton in his third year, Shaq in his fourth. No, Shaq in his fifth season. Bruce has been around a while.
Yes, it's 2012.
2012. I think he made his debut against the Bulldogs.
He did indeed. Round 5 and Canberra kicked a goal against us, so it was set up from the very beginning.
Yep. And Lloyd, been around for a while, bit experienced as well. Bailey Dale's been, I think you said, this would be
from 2015
season. Yeah, 2015. Okay,
was
so
his
this
debut.
is his sixth season now. Sorry.
Whoa, come again? 15, 16, 17,
18, 19, 20. 20
Jesus
will be sixth
Christ.
season. Wow, that went quick.
That has actually gone quick.
Goodness
That's nuts.
me.
Every Beveridge's sixth year, of course, still obviously as coach next year, but that sounds far more stranger. And you think to yourself, like comparing with Rodney Eade, he was there for 6 or 7 years, but it felt longer.
7.
7 years,
Almost
7 years,
seven,
almost 7, but it
almost
felt
seven.
a lot longer.
Yeah.
With Beveridge, it still feels like it's his third or fourth at the moment.
Yeah, it does feel like he's not been there very long. Maybe it's probably just that we're older now.
No, this is weird stuff.
Okay. Yeah, no, but I think that will be one to keep an eye on. But there's spots up for grabs in that forward line. I mean, the other one is Gowers, who keeps getting opportunities, but I think conversion is I think for the last couple of years, conversion's been an issue for him.
The conversion and goal kicking, as stupid as it sounds, goal kicking is not the only thing that forwards have to do.
No,
it's a pretty important one, clearly.
Yeah.
But so many different ways you can judge footballers around.
Well, we say Aaron Norton is a fantastic fit for us, but his set shot goal kicking wasn't, elite last year.
And you've got to be very careful about it too with the players you bring in also on how they complement the setup. What exactly makes you two think that, in terms of the forward line, what makes Bruce fit and what makes him not?
Bruce provides for us at least, a stay-at-home one-on-one. I guess he provides in many ways what we wanted Tom Boyd to. Just someone you can... A traditional full forward. Stick them in the forward 50. They're not going to lose too many one-on-one battles. And they can just compete and bring the ball to ground.
Can you find his percentage of one-on-ones? Would they have that there?
I'll see if I can find that one. But that's what I think he provides. And the difference between he and Norton, because Norton can do that very well, but Norton has strengths that Bruce doesn't, that I would like to see utilised elsewhere, namely the aerobic capacity that you referred to earlier there, Nick.
But Bruce does have a very good tank but he's much better under a high ball.
Yeah,
That
so
Norton isn't.
Yeah, so I prefer Bruce in the goal square under that proverbial high ball. Norton using his endurance to get up the ground, because he's very good when he runs and jumps at the football.
His
Norton.
best asset.
That's when he takes his contested marks.
Who else has not exactly that asset, but similar strength in terms of endurance?
Shaki. And what Shaki needs as well is help, because certainly when he was at the club for the second half of 2018, he was doing it all on his own, really. He didn't have much in the way of help. He had Boyd there for a few games, but mostly it was him on his own. In 2019, he had a bit of help with Norton, also an inexperienced key forward, but he was still taking the second best defender. Now he'll be taking the third best defender, Shaki. So he's gone from the number one defender to the number 3 defender within 2 seasons, effectively. And I think that will give him, again, that ability to be able to win the ball a bit easier. And Shaki is a high half forward. He's very good with the ball in his hand for someone so tall. He does find it, he uses it pretty well. He's very clean below his knees as well. And that's what I really like about Shaki and why he'd be good up the ground. Needs to take more marks, though, as key forward. I've said that to you a couple of times. He took 5 contested marks last year, Shaki.
Again, it all depends on the role that you utilise him in for.
Yeah.
But no, you're
But
right.
still, as a second key forward, you reckon you'd be taking more than that?
You'd hope for around 1 a game. Look, 20-odd is achievable for him. And he took 17 or something like that in his first season. No, he took 21 in his first season. 17 games, I think it was, maybe. So he's done it before. He can do it again.
21 in his first season.
And that's with obviously
in 17 games. He took
Yeah.
2 in 2017 in
about
10
games. Yeah.
He took 9 from 13 in 2018, and he took 5 from 14.
Again, it's all
So-
about the role that you use them for. But you'd hope to see those numbers a bit higher still. What do you think about that, Brad, with Bruce? Matt's given some reasons there on why he compliments it. Do you think there's anything that he might lack that the others have, or around that? Is it a good fit for us specifically?
I reckon it is. With I haven't really thought about this one, to be honest, but I do think it's a good fit. I'll let somebody else explain it while I'm thinking about it, because I'm pretty out of it at the moment. Trying to think about it.
I don't have Norton's attacking numbers. I've only got his defensive contests.
Fantastic.
He lost 1 of 4, so 25%.
That'll do. That's a large sample size there, and it's incredible numbers.
Yep.
No, we like Bruce. We're very happy to have him.
Mm-hmm.
He's very happy to have us. It is an actual win-win still for us and the Saints, for the path that they're looking to go and invest in Max King, who hopefully is recovering quite well from that ACL injury, and for them it gave them the opportunity to add some zip to their midfield with Zach Jones. So they might lose one thing, but they've got players to replace Bruce. Now that's not to say he wouldn't be in their best side in a couple of years, but they wouldn't probably look to him to be that man. And for Bruce, it's the perfect thing for him. Security in the long run, his family, new house on the way, young kid. So it's a win-win deal for all parties involved.
Yeah.
I think so. Everyone should be rather happy with this.
All right. What about Keith in the back line then? Because it's a similar issue with that one. You've got a bunch of key tools. You've got Schrenkov already down there. You've got Lewis Young, who they want to develop. They see him as a long-term prospect. I can't say they've got Dale Morris down there because we don't anymore, and it's still very difficult to...
He'll still be there, though.
He'll still be there as a development coach, and hopefully they can get him to fill in a couple of times, when the injuries inevitably strike in the back line. Easton Wood, Hayden Crozier, Matthew Suckling, Caleb Daniel, some of the smaller types of defenders, though.
Yep,
Not necessarily,
Duray,
especially Daniel.
You haven't even mentioned JJ yet as well.
No, he has not mentioned JJ.
I haven't mentioned JJ. I'm a fan of JJ being more on the wing. But now that I think about it,
half-back flanker.
Now that I think about it, I think I'd prefer Caleb Daniel on the wing to Johannesson. And the other one was Bailey Williams, who was in and out of the side a bit last year. I think we had high hopes for him during the season.
Still do.
Still do.
I still do. Triple Baileys for the way. Or for the win, or whatever it is.
For the way.
for the win, all the way. It's a combination of 3 and 4.
Okay. So but a bunch of defenders there. Keith adds depth to it. But he'll be more than a depth player. How many key defenders is too many key defenders? And is the number of key defenders you have in your side influenced by the number of key forwards you've got at the other end? So we've already got 3 tall forwards in Bruce, Norton, Shaki.
But only one of them plays as a genuine, proper tall
Only
forward.
one of them does, but no, I'd say 2 of them do. I'd say Norton and Bruce would.
Norton can, but I think he's probably 2 years away from being classified as a proper tall forward. From now, he's got the aggression of one.
The height of one.
He's got the height of one, but
height is important.
Height is important, but
forward.
Shaki's got the height, but he's not a tall forward too. So it's weird how it works. It's really weird how these terminologies come about. But with Keith, he again complements the list quite nicely, and the way that he'll use his strengths. Intercept marking, we like blokes that can intercept mark. It's again goes with the players that we've tried to bring in the past few years. You know,
Crozier is a fine example of that.
Crozier for one. Norton in the draft had that in his hands.
Yep.
The talk of Jake Lever, intercept mark.
Hurley.
Stephen May, Hurley, intercept mark.
They changed Easton Wood's role. He was more of a stopper before Beveridge arrived. Then he became the best interceptor going around.
Yep, and then he's back to being a stopper.
Now he's back to being a stopper. It's interesting. His career sort of come full circle, Easton. It's done everything except playing the ruck. He started as a stopper, then an interceptor, then a full forward.
Are you telling me he's played inside mid?
I'm sure Beveridge is put in there at some point. I'm certain of it.
If we could have, and this I still can't believe this happened last year in the VFL. Tom Campbell, Timmy English, Jordan Roughhead, and Jackson Trengove at a centre clearance. And Matt's wanting to neck himself right now. I can't believe that actually happened. And we won the clearance.
So all along, Beveridge knew what he was doing with that one.
And we lost the game. We got destroyed. So,
but all right. So we won't say tall forward or key forward. We'll say forwards that are 190 plus. Then you'll have Bruce, Norton, Shaki, all 190 plus. You're going to have Tim English in the ruck as well. So there's 4 talls already. We haven't even got to the back line yet. How many key defenders, if you've got those 4 playing, how many key defenders or defenders that are above 190? There was another name I don't think I mentioned. I don't think I mentioned Zane Cordy either.
No, you have not.
In that group. I don't know how tall he is, but I think he's just above the 190 mark.
194.
194. Okay, so you're probably going to have Cordy play because, I mean, he could do whatever he wants. He just cannot get out of this senior side.
At the moment, yes. No, he seems not that he's given a free pass because he's done some good things.
He's been caught in no man's land more times than I've had hot dinners, but he cannot find his way into Footscray at the moment. Zane Cordy. It's great because I love him in the senior side. I think he's a great player.
I'm so perplexed what the hell you're going on about hot dinners.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you haven't heard that saying?
No, I have now.
He's missed more chances than I've had hot dinners.
How many hot dinners have you had?
Oh, I've lost count.
Well, fantastic. All right. Yeah, that's a strange one. You'll have to educate me on that.
Yeah, there is Cordy as well. So you got Trengove, you got Young, Lewis Young. That is. You've probably got Lockie Young as well, who I know the Dogs rate.
That'll be the Wood role, if Wood happens to fall out.
And they've got Easton Wood. They've got Crazy, not tall players, but play tall again. How many key defenders, or how many of those 190 plus defenders do you pick? Cordy, for the record, is 193 centimeters, so he does fit under this category.
Me, you always need a maximum of 7, regular giants in terms of key position roles. But it depends on what you use them for. It's always that bloody phrase. So if one of them is a genuine prospect as a sole key defender, as a lockdown key defender, then you either need your second and third defensive roles, whatever height they are, to be very good intercept markers, or very good third tall options that have the athleticism to play on a range of forwards. Now, we think Trengove is a pure lockdown, Keith's an intercept marker, then Cordy has to either be... Cordy's not number 3, so he has to play as the second one, which makes Keith become the third, to suit those roles.
Is Cordy capable of being a second?
Yes, if he has adequate aerial support, which will be coming from Keith. But I don't think Trengove will actually last in the 22 much longer, which is very weird because I like him a lot.
And what does that mean for Lewis Young?
And that's where he comes in. I think we're going to be playing two intercept defenders as our number 1 and 2, being Keith and Young, and then Cordy as the third.
Interesting.
That's what I'm thinking. What we're going to do.
No one-on-ones.
No proper one-on-ones.
Genuine one-on-ones.
But then again, Keith's done it before. But we're going to be playing him as the interceptor still. It's really weird. It's an attacking style from the back.
It is.
The back line, isn't it?
Well, you think of the key defenders are interceptors, the mid-sized defenders are interceptors, and the back flankers in Daniel and Johannesson are as attacking as they get. So it really is the best form of defence is attack, and that's what I think. It's interesting how it's all been moulded over the past few years. They've got a really offensive-minded defence, which sounds weird, but everyone's first instinct is to go for the ball.
Yes, they're see-ball, get-ball players, pretty much.
Very interesting. That's wonderful analysis there by you, Nick Clare. We'll move on. Just wanted to wrap up one more thing because there's a bunch of trade picks that have gone here, there, everywhere. Going into the draft, we'll have picks 13, 53, and 89. Yeah, pick 89. Draft.
I'm sure we've found some, very, very nice footballers at pick 89. I'm probably sure we've found some absolutely shockers, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, we've found Chris Grant at pick
105.
Ben Harrison played for the Bulldogs. He was at pick 102 in the draft.
Very nice.
There's only one player that was taken lower in the draft that played more AFL games than Ben Harrison, and it was Chris Grant.
I like these odds. We should trade pick 89 for 105 right now.
Yeah, I like that idea. And we might get Marley Williams in return. Anyway, Nick.
Reece Palmer for pick 135. And just a shout out to, once again, our mate Jason. 74, Townsend at 121. That's what it ended up being to the Tigers for the Giants deal.
I think they've done all right out of that one.
I think they have.
They got a premiership out of that.
They did indeed. And a JJ Liston and a VFL flag.
Yeah,
Townsend's won it.
Yeah, they've definitely done pretty well there. Hopefully for Jason's sake, we can we'll try to mention that one to him next time we see him.
Thoughts are with him in this tricky moments here.
Yeah, he's struggling a bit.
Yes, can't cope with that delisting.
Yeah, no, it's one of the more devastating ones. All right, we better move on then and talk some happy news because we don't talk about these people a lot. The AFLW, or the Bulldogs AFLW, had a big day yesterday, and I'm not kidding when I say that. They had the draft, and they had 4 picks in the top 10.
Yep. One of them is compensation.
4 picks in the top 9, actually. Probably could have...
so is it 1, 6, 8 and 9?
1, 6, 8, 9, yeah. We weren't able to sell one of them and bank future points to secure Jamal.
I wonder if that's... Oh, fantastic. We could do that. Would have been fantastic, actually.
It would have been nice, but what we've got isn't too bad. So we did have pick 1 in the draft, as you said. I think this was
Conti.
This was the trade for Monique Conti, and we picked up Gabby Newton. Now she
very excited about this.
Now Nick may know more than I do here, but she played for Vic Metro and the Northern Knights last year.
That's correct.
Won premierships with both of them.
Yep. Captains.
Captain Northern Knights went undefeated with Vic Metro and won All Australian honours also.
And once again, because we're going to have to mention this, was a former basketballer.
It was a former basketballer.
So that's going to be mentioned, 400 times in a game.
She won the best and fairest for the Knights. It was her second consecutive best and fairest award for them. She made the NAB League Team of the Year. She averaged 16 disposals, 4 marks, and 4 tackles for Vic Metro. I mean, we could go on.
That'll be nice. It's a relatively simple pick for us to pick one, other than McAvoy.
They were thinking
was
about...
it Peter's... I'm going to get this wrong. Peter's daughter? No, not Peter's daughter. It might have been, Ben's sister, I think it could have been.
Okay. But no, this...
But then again, Peter is the brother, so that's all right.
Yep.
Peter at Coburg, of course.
And just want to make mention, because I made mention to Nick at the top of the show, the last time we picked up a player from the Northern Knights...
Yes, do you know who that was, Brad?
You might need to refresh my mind here. I forgot.
Pick 4, 2013.
The Bonds.
The Bonds.
Yes, the boy from Eltham. Northern Knights. Player 2-7, whatever the hell it was.
Yep.
Another guy from Northern Knights and Eltham is Paddy Lipinski. So we'll continue back on that.
We're loving the Northern Knights.
Yes, and we've got a few of them now.
We do. So
how many?
Well, the next person we picked up was also from the Northern Knights as well. If I've got this one correct. Yep. Nell Morris Dalton, playing as a key forward.
Yep, she's 175. It is a bit different. Doesn't sound tall, but in AFLW terms it is.
Yeah, for the women's league, 100.
I
It
think
doesn't
it
sound
was-
overly tall, but it is.
I think it was. I can't give you the exact goals that she's got, but in terms of the finals, she kicked 7 in those 2 games.
Yeah, she did. So 7 goals in 2 games with that one for Nell. Also played for Vic Metro, so she's probably getting sick of the sight of Gabby Newton by now. They've had a lot to do with each other in the past 12 months, and also made the NAB League Team of the Year. I actually saw some highlights of her. She was playing a bit in the midfield, so Beveridge will love her. Just a
That
shame.
versatility.
Just a shame he's not the coach.
Nathan Burke, yes, he was there, of course.
Yeah, he
rightly
was.
So, yes, they're rather excited.
And he grabbed. Morris Dalton grabbed the ball from 50, and she had a shot and she put it through. It was actually against the Bulldogs, so it was a fair goal. And if that's the sort of stuff that we're going to see from her on a regular basis, it'll be good to see that one next year.
It's nice to see. We've probably got now 2 generations of players growing up in terms of AFLW. You know, the inaugural core group that has been, cut apart now, but there's still some of those that were left over, and then we've got now the next gen that are pushing through. There's maybe a little bit of a gap in the age bracket, but it's nice to see they were starting to complement those 23, 24, 25-year-olds with, the fresh players in the 18, 19s and 20s. So,
Yeah.
And we've got, who else have we got? That's 2 players you've, 3 players you've listed now?
I've just said 2
2,
players
yep,
there.
yep.
And I'm looking forward to the 1-2 combination of Morris Dalton and Huntington as well.
Yes,
next year.
Yes, no, the club's rather excited about that. And a lot of the journos saying, and one of the other footballers that you'll mention, could again form the deadly 1-2 duo.
Well, the next name we've got here was taken at pick 8, Gemma Lagoya. I hope I've said that right, Gemma.
Apologies if not.
Also a representative of Vic Metro, so we've basically drafted Vic Metro this year.
And Northern Knights
and
FC.
and Northern Knights, except Gemma Lagoya didn't play for Northern Knights, actually averaged 15 disposals for Oakley. Now, Bradley, who was the last person we drafted from the Oakley Chargers?
I'm clueless, man.
This may well be the second most famous goal in Bulldogs history.
and the
Maybe
most famous point in Oakley
Tommy
Chargers
Boyd?
history.
Not Tom Boyd.
No, he's from Eastern Rangers.
Close.
The Tom Boyd is the most important goal in Bulldogs history. It's the second most important goal, and Nick's right. It's the most important point that the Oakley Chargers have ever
Yes,
scored.
2012. This player's brother
You're going to say
could
his
get
name?
drafted relatively soon. The first name is Finley.
Finland.
Oh, Jackson McRae.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes, Jacko.
Jack McRae. So again, if this one turns out to be half as good as a Jack McRae pickup, I reckon we'll do all right. We'll win half a flag. She played for.
What are you going to tell? What are you going to say? That you're going to present this to you and then you get the scissors and cut it on.
No, it was a draw. We don't have a second premiership. We can't do a replay. We'll just cut the cup in half. You have that half. You have that half. Gemma played for Collingwood actually in the VFL during the year. I'm not sure if she played in the grand final.
Yes, she did.
She did.
She
okay.
did.
A ball winner and has plenty of speed as well. So she'll be nice to have running through the midfield, potentially off half back as well. With that one, Nick.
No, look, it actually is a nice story. All these things. The draft's a very exciting time for everyone involved into it, and I know that it will still take a little bit of time longer for the AFLW to really kick off. But we've seen the progression, of course, with women's soccer, women's football in this country, as well as women's cricket. And that's come a long, long, long way, and it's actually at a brilliant standard now.
Yeah,
So-
it is improving. I mean, I remember watching it start this year, and it improved a lot on the year before as well. That was something I actually noticed. So it is.
I think
it's
it's
still a long way off, but it is.
I think it's about
improving
3
quickly.
years off before becoming a really big thing, though, in terms of high quality 4-quarter games. But it'll still take a bit of time before they can stabilise the competition with, the incoming teams and all these things. So that's going to slow it down a little bit, but it is exciting.
And there was one more here in the top 10. It was actually we had to wait all of one pick for our next selection. Elizabeth Georgia Stathis. Hope I've said that right as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
They're like John Georgiadis and kick 9 on debut or 8 on debut,
John
please.
Georgiadis. My uncle loves John Georgiadis. You know what he says about John Georgiadis? He said he kicked 8 goals on debut.
8 goals, yeah.
Yeah, and then they figured out his one weakness. The opposition figured out his one weakness. Next week, They actually put an opponent on him.
Fantastic.
He never got another kick again. I mean, I don't know how they figured it out.
What about Bill Wood, where he got 9 on debut too?
Bill Wood, he held the record for a while. Most goals kicked on debut for about 5 years, I think, before some fella Coleman arrived.
Yes, what was Coleman? 546 goals in 98 games. 547, thank you.
98 games.
103 goals in his debut season.
And
that's crazy.
The best back pocket player he ever saw. And he admitted it himself.
Please.
Wally Donald.
Yes, there's no bias there whatsoever.
No. Well, it's a quote from John Coleman. Anyway, with Elizabeth Georgia Stathis, she was actually produced through the Western Jets program in the NAB League as well.
Yes, Western Jets got a lot of things with us. Unfortunately, a former Western Jet has been delisted, and that was Connor Menedy. So we'll see where his career takes off. Post with the Tigers.
And she actually captained the Jets this year to Georgia, and she won their best and fairest also.
We've got I know it's the top 10, but we've got a lot of rolled gold, haven't we?
And another Team of the Year representative too is Georgia.
We've seen very specific and targeting leadership caliber, aren't we?
Well, yeah, all of them captains, weren't they?
Yes, very strange. Wonder about that.
And then a few others here as well. So we had 4 picks in the top 9, and then we had to wait a while. Pick 47. Now we already knew this one was going through. Isabella Gratz, first father-daughter selection for the Bulldogs. I'm not sure if it's the first father-daughter selection ever.
There was one more.
One more. Okay, so the second. She's played for Spotswood and the Western Jets and represented Vic Metros. Another Vic Metro girl. Yeah, so we've really just drafted Vic Metro this year.
It is tricky though, of course, because you're only allowed to draft players depending where the clubs come from. Of course, you can draft them as either Metro, regional, or free for all. And it seems like we've taken the free for all option, but still focusing specifically on the Metro girls.
And another member, when apart from drafting Vic Metro, we've also just drafted the NAB League Team of the Year because Isabella's made that as well. And just like her father, forward.
That'll do nicely.
With strong marking ability, Nicholas.
That'll do nicely.
I would love to see that. You know what they
play her as a centre half back.
You know what they should do? You know what they should do?
Put her on the ruck.
Give her the number 3.
I like that.
Give her the number 3.
I like that very much. Who's got the number 3 at the moment?
No one, because
it was Katie Brennan. It was Katie Brennan.
Thank you.
No one, because some I can't remember. I don't know her name, but
Kevin Bartlett.
She left. Kevin Bartlett. Okay.
Yes. No, I like that. Give her the number 3.
Yep.
That's actually a great touch. Hopefully that's the case, and I'm sure the club will do that. To be honest,
because I know that not everyone likes to inherit the number that their father did wear.
So number 33 then on the cards.
Or number 29. Chris Grant wore 29, I think, in his first.
Yep, that'll do it. I like to wear the number that my father did. Number 29. That'll do it. That'll do it.
Then one pick after, Brittany Good. I'm gonna get this wrong. Sorry, Brittany Goodschneck.
I'm just gonna give you a pass for that.
Yep. Goodschneck. I'll just say that. I'll stop Brittany just for both of our sakes. Another one from the Northern Knights. Also a member of the Premiership team. Also represented Vic Metro. She's played for Carlton as well in the VFLW. Averaging
Do you know if she would have played in the
tackles.
Do you know how long she would have been there for? Carlton VFLW?
No, not sure on that one.
Because I'm just wondering about that. Obviously they made... Oh, she wouldn't have been a part of the grand final team clearly a couple of years back, but still.
No.
But I just wonder, though, how much influence that would have had on her at her time there.
And I'm not going to... And there's just one more pick 62. So those two were pick 47, pick 48. One more in the 4th round. And I don't want to make any assumptions, but I believe that Latham Vandermeer may have a Dutch compatriot.
Okay, now I'm excited. We like this word, Vandermeer.
Amelia van Oosterwijk.
Yeah, that'll do it. I'm sold already. That's fantastic.
I think I actually got that one right. I hope I did, Amelia.
You can say that, but not the German names.
I can't say the German. Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing. It's just easier for me to say a Dutch name than a German name.
But just like from The Simpsons, nobody speaks German could possibly be evil.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Anyway, another small midfielder from the Oakley Chargers also represented Victoria Metro. I think that's just part and parcel of who we draft these days. So joining Gemma Lagoya. Van Oosterwijk averaged 11 disposals and 5.1 tackles. What?
Nick.
No,
the
I'm
hell?
just enjoying the emphasis on the. I think it's very well done, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it is. I enjoy it. It's just I'm enjoying it though. Still. But
No,
yeah.
but and that's the four names with that one. It better be it from us for another episode. Salty Bulldog, Nick Leo, Brad Sultana. I want to thank you both for joining me, Nick again, and Brad. Welcome back. To all of those listening, wherever you may be around the world, always a pleasure to have you join in, and we look forward to having you join us again next week.